So, how do you become a king? I mean, really, what's the secret? Is it about your family line? Is it winning some epic battle? Or is it something else entirely?
Let's think about that for a second. Where does a whole kingdom even start? What's that very first moment, that spark, that sets the destiny of a nation in motion?
Well, for the man who would become Israel's very first king, it didn't start with some grand ambition. It didn't start with a quest for glory. Nope, it began with lost donkeys. I'm not kidding.
So our story kicks off not in a palace, but out on some dusty trail. It all starts with this completely normal, everyday chore that's about to lead a young man somewhere he never, ever could have expected.
Okay, so let's meet this guy. His name is Saul. And, he's kind of a walking contradiction. On one hand, he's from a pretty well-off family, but on the other hand, his tribe, Benjamin, is literally the smallest and, let's be honest, least important tribe in all of Israel. Physically, though, whoa, this guy was a showstopper. The text says he was handsome and stood a full head taller than anyone else. He absolutely looked the part of a leader, even if his background didn't quite match up.
So here's the setup. His dad, Kish, loses his donkeys. He tells Saul, hey, take a servant with you and go find them. Simple enough, right? Well, Saul and the servants search everywhere. They go all through the hill country, town after town, and nothing. They're about to call it quits, and Saul says, you know what? We should head back. Otherwise, my dad is going to stop worrying about the donkeys and start worrying about us. See? Just a totally normal, relatable thought.
And right here, this is where everything pivots, all thanks to a quick suggestion from the servant. He goes, wait a minute, in this town, there's a man of God, a prophet named Samuel. The guy's a big deal. Everything he says comes true. Maybe he can tell us where to go. And just like that, a hunt for lost farm animals turns into a meeting with destiny.
This is the turning point. Saul, who 5 minutes ago was just worried about his dad and some missing donkeys, is about to walk into a quiet, private meeting that is going to change not just his own life, but the entire future of his nation.
Because see, this was no accident. The day before Saul even showed up, God had already given the prophet Samuel a heads up. So the moment Samuel sees this tall, young guy walking toward him, God basically says, that's him. That's the man I told you about. He's the one who will lead my people. Saul has absolutely no clue, but his fate has already been sealed. Now, what happens next is this really powerful, sacred ritual. Samuel pulls Saul aside to anoint him with oil. And you got to understand, this isn't just a symbolic pat on the back. Pouring special, consecrated oil on someone's head was the physical sign that God himself had chosen this person, set them apart for a holy mission. It was a visible sign of a divine calling.
And as Samuel pours the oil on Saul's head, he says these words that must have just rocked Saul's world. I am doing this because the Lord has appointed you to be the ruler over Israel, his special possession. Just try to put yourself in his shoes for a second. You left home to find lost animals, and now the most famous prophet in the country is telling you God has picked you to be king.
Now, Samuel isn't blind. He can see the absolute shock and, let's be real, the doubt all over Saul's face. So to prove this is all real, he gives Saul 3 incredibly specific predictions, signs, that are going to happen on his way home. This is the proof, designed to convince a very skeptical man that this calling is for real.
And these aren't some vague horoscope-type predictions. They are super specific. First, you're going to meet 2 men, and they'll tell you that donkeys, the whole reason you started this trip, have been found. Check. Second, you'll meet 3 other men, and they'll just offer you 2 loaves of bread. Take them, okay? And then the big one, number 3. You'll run into a group of prophets, and the Spirit of God will come on you so powerfully that you, Saul, will start prophesying right along with them.
And what happens? The text is so clear about this. It doesn't say it happened over a few weeks. It says, that same day, all of Samuel's signs were fulfilled. Boom, boom, boom. Every single one, exactly as he said. There was just no denying it.
But this was more than just external proof. Something really deep happened inside Saul. See, the anointing wasn't just for a title, it was for a total transformation. The guy who left home that morning, worried about animals and his dad, was, and I'm quoting here, changed into a different person. God gave him a new heart. He was being remade from the inside out for the job ahead.
Okay, so a private anointing is one thing, a personal transformation is huge. But now it's time for the big public reveal. The private choice has to become a national event. And this is where things get really, really interesting and superhuman.
So Samuel calls all the tribes of Israel together at this place called Mizpah. It's time to officially pick the king. But he doesn't just get up and say, "Hey everyone, it's Saul." Instead, they use a sacred lot. It's like a form of divine selection to show every single person there that this isn't Samuel's choice. This is God's choice.
Man, you can just feel the tension in the air. Samuel casts the lot. First, it lands on the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe. Then, it narrows down to the Matrite clan inside that tribe. And finally, the lot falls on one man, Saul, son of Kish.
This is it, the big moment. The nation has its king. Everyone looks around for their new leader, and he's gone. He's vanished. The man who was just chosen to lead the entire nation is hiding? Wait, where is he?
They literally have to ask God where he is, and the answer they get is just incredible. He is hiding among the baggage. I mean, wow. It's just such a powerful reminder that a divine calling doesn't just magically erase our human fears. The guy who looked like a king, who was anointed and transformed, he got so overwhelmed that he went and hid among the supply bags.
Well, they find him, of course. They bring him out in front of everybody. But as he's standing there, about to be crowned, it becomes crystal clear that even a king handpicked by God is about to face a very human problem. Not everyone is on board.
And when the people finally get a look at him, he is every bit as impressive as they'd heard. He stands before the crowd, and he really does tower over them, head and shoulders above everyone else. He is the very picture of what a king should look like.
Samuel presents him, and the people just erupt. The first reaction is a huge wave of support. They all start shouting, "Long live the king!"
But not everyone is cheering. The text says there were some scoundrels in the crowd who were grumbling. How can this guy save us? They looked at him, this guy from the smallest tribe, and they just couldn't accept it. They dismissed him and refused to show him any respect.
And that's where we're left. The road to the crown was paved with miracles, but the reign itself starts with a very human mess. And it leaves us with this huge question, right? What happens when a chosen leader is still wrestling with his own doubt, and the hopeful nation